If you're planning a photo trip in Iceland, I would always advise you to plan ahead. Plan the trip. What are you going to shoot? Which locations? What do you want for sunrise? What do you want for sunset? If that happens, then take care of the logistics, plan the hotels, everything you need around that itinerary. It is not really an option here in Iceland anymore to play it by ear. Like land at the airport, pick up the car, and just drive wherever the sun is shining. That used to be possible, but with the increased tourism, the hotels are just full. You won't be able to do that, maybe on a camper van or something like that. But if you plan to stay on hotels, you will need to book in advance and stick to that plan. But this video is not about that. It's not about logistics or planning. It's about expectation and why I think it's a good idea to manage them. After 10 years of leading photo tours, hundreds and hundreds of people I've taken around Iceland and other places, I can honestly tell you that most people's worst enemy are predefined ideas of what they are going to shoot. Now, I'm not talking about locations. I'm talking about the conditions they will get at each location. So on every tour I start, I emphasize with people to let go of their expectations of what they want and just open your mind. Be prepared for whatever the locations, the conditions at each location is going to give you. So imagine this. You're planning a trip to Iceland. You're going to do south coast all the way up to Stokksnes in southeast corner of Iceland, which is the most popular photography route we have here in Iceland. You go online, you do a photo search, and you get a visual reference from every location you plan to visit. So let's say this is what you come up with. Not every location on the route, but you get the idea. Now, this is your expectation. And if you expect this, everything else becomes a failure. Ergo, the trip is almost guaranteed to fail. Because those expectations, this is not possible to get in one trip. This is years of work. This is not even the same season. There are so many variables you need to keep in mind if you're going to copy other people's work. Because that's basically what you're doing. If you have a photo in your head and you're going to get the exact same thing or almost. Let's say you arrive at Svínafellsjökull, which is one of the glaciers in Iceland. And this is your visual reference. This is what you came up with in your online search. Now, this is your expectation. Chances are you getting this is almost zero. Let's just say zero. This perfectly aligned lenticular cloud over the glacier with this ring of fire. There's very little snow, so you can see the beautiful greens in the mountain. But it's still cold enough for the glacier to still have this beautiful blue color. And in the 10 years I've been doing this route, and this route is my bread and butter, I've never seen this. I haven't even seen other people's work. I have never seen anything like this at this location. So to copy that would be difficult. The more likely scenario you're going to get at the Svínafellsjökull glacier is this. Cloudy and gray. You can still shoot, but you have to approach this very differently. You have to think differently. This epic vista is just not available. you need to do something else. You need to change the viewpoint. You need to zoom in. You need to use the clouds. You need to just try to get what you can and stop wasting time being frustrated of what you cannot get. It's stupid. And then we have Northern Lights, everybody's favorite thing. Everybody wants that, and they don't want any Northern Lights. They want something like this. You do a search online, you find this, and now this is your expectation. This is what you want. This is what you're gonna get. Now let's say everything falls into place. You have a good forecast. You have a clear sky. Everything looks amazing. You go to a location and this is what you get. Boring green Alps, hardly visible to the naked eye, but the long exposure on the camera, it picks it up. Now there are two things you can do. Be pissed off and frustrated and tell everyone that Northern Lights are fake. Or you can just put your big boy pants on and improve your composition and use the little lights you got to make something beautiful. It's entirely possible. This is on the same night as this, just a little later. I just worked on the composition a little bit. I looked for something nice. It's a far cry from this, but if this was common, easy to get, everybody would have it. It wouldn't even be a challenge. You wouldn't even need to think about, will I get Northern Lights or not? And remember, not everybody that comes to Iceland will get Northern Lights. This is a nature thing. Even if you get great prediction and the sky is just glowing, it could be over a blanket of cloud. You can't see it. And sometimes when we have clear skies for days, there's just nothing like. There's just no way to plan for this. There's no way to increase your possibility of getting it. You just have to take what you get. First thing you need to do when you get to a location is just forget about everything you've seen and everything you know about the location and look at it with a fresh set of eyes, with an open mind. What do you have? Do you have sun? Do you have clouds? Do you have rain? What do you have? And then use what you have to try to build the best frame possible. This is not done if your brain is full of ideas you've seen online, which you're trying to get. You need to put in the work. Most likely your first 5 frames or 10 frames will be exactly the same as everybody else's, because people that have even a slightly trained eye, they all see the same thing. So get that over with. Go get the money shot. Get the obvious frames. Then just try to go a little deeper. Try to find something. Try to be creative with what you have and do something unique, because that's how you grow as a photographer. Copying other people's work does not grow you as a photographer. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's good to start your photography journey by having some reference, try to get something, but it trains your brain. But when you have the basics, you need to get creative, and you do not get creative by copying other people's work. And then just deal with the fucking weather. You wanted something, but it's not happening, so you got rain, you got wind, so you can't get this. It's impossible. But you might get this, and this, and this. It's not so bad. I just finished a tour with a great group of photographers. They were so hardworking, they didn't complain. We had the first 3 days, I was kind of getting worried. it was just horizontal rain for 3 days. It's just massive rain. And when it's that windy and that much rain, it is one of the most difficult conditions you can shoot in. You know, it's just to keep the lands dry. You know, everything is so difficult. Equipment is wet. You're wet. Even your underpants is soaking. It doesn't matter really how you dress for this. It's not possible to dress for this. So, but these guys, they just stayed outside and they shot all day because they knew they were coming to Iceland and you could expect anything. And we actually came up with decent frames in despite of the weather, and sometimes because of the weather. I got this and I got this and I got more decent stuff. It was difficult, but if you do not shoot, you lose. You always lose. You will always lose if you don't shoot. Then the group had more bad news because one of the main attraction of this route, this south coast up to Stuxnes route, is the Glacier Lagoon and the ice beach. And the Glacier Lagoon, because we had some very cold weathers earlier this winter, so the Glacier Lagoon was still frozen and there was no iceberg on it. No icebergs. And that means also the beach, the ice beach, is also empty. There was some ice on the beach, but not this beautiful glacier ice. There was this, I don't know what it is. I think it's called pack ice. The ice that freezes on the top layer on the lagoon, and it breaks off and washes up. It's, you know, there was ice, but it's ugly ice. So, bad luck. So, what do? Well, we tried another lagoon close by the main glacial lagoon called Fjallsölum. And that was the same. There was no ice. It was just frozen. It was just the same type of ice, but it looked a little nicer. So instead of bitching and crying about what we did not have, we just focused on what we had. It was raining, it was windy, it was no ice, so we had to think differently. So I came up with this and more stuff, and everybody seemed to be happy with what they got from that location. So it is entirely possible to make a trip work even if Glacier Lagoon isn't really on this. But I'm happy to tell you that after these 3 first difficult days, our luck changed and we got some amazing stuff on this trip. And I was so happy for them because, you know, they worked so hard, even in these difficult conditions, that, you know, I just thought they deserved everything they got. We got amazing northern lights, we got amazing sunrises, we got just very, very cool stuff in the second half of this tour. So the moral is, move on, be happy, even if things look bleak or difficult. You can always use that conditions to make something work for you, and things might improve. And whatever happens, you had a nice trip with a nice bunch of people, and nothing can change that.